Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to the 2024 RSA Conference. Really excited to be here today, and thank you all for making the time to be here with us. First off, I want to thank the RSA Conference for giving me this opportunity and this platform. Really excited to chat with you about two extremely important technologies and this theme of converging artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, which is a theme that I think we're all talking about here this year. My name is Jonah Levine, and I want to talk to you a little bit about why I'm so passionate about this emerging trend that we're seeing within the cybersecurity industry. I'm an enterprise cybersecurity executive at Microsoft. I help lead some of Microsoft's strategic relationships with different enterprises. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, and a graduate of Indiana University. So I wanted to start off by setting the stage. A lot of people are talking about artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence is not new to cybersecurity. This is something that we've been seeing for several years now. Back when I started at Microsoft nearly 6 years ago, we were already seeing the integration of cybersecurity and artificial intelligence and the integration of those technologies together. What's really unique about the past year or so is this new flavor of artificial intelligence called generative AI, which is becoming more and more popular and becoming relevant in all of our daily lives. You probably all remember ChatGPT. I remember when I had first heard about ChatGPT, my younger brother came to me and said, "Hey, Jonah, there's this bot that's doing all my homework." And I was like, "What? Let me take a look at that." He had showed me the generative AI solution and how he was using it, and it just got me excited and thinking about all the ways that it could be used for all of us. If you're not familiar with generative AI, it is a query-based technology where you interact with the artificial intelligence, ask it questions, and it can provide content for you. And that content can vary from a prompt to source code to really anything. It can create images and videos for you. There are several different types of generative AI. And I just want to point out a quick graph here. This is from Statista, and this is a projection of the generative AI market. I think we can all see here that this is exponential growth we're expecting. At 2020, the market size for generative AI was nearly $5 billion or just over $5 billion. We're going to see a growth all the way up to over $200 billion before 2030. With that said, I'm going to move on to my next slide here. And this is really the core message of what I want to deliver today. And that is that while it's very exciting and generative AI provides a lot of opportunity and it's going to provide a lot of innovation to the way that we go about cybersecurity today, it also is a big threat and it's a big challenge for cybersecurity professionals that we need to be thinking about and getting ahead of. So if we look at the pros, I think we've all heard that it's going to help security analysts and security professionals defend at the speed of AI, at the speed of a computer. It's also going to allow professionals to detect and respond to the latest cybersecurity threats, which are really critical pros to this new technology becoming a part of our field. The cons are that the adversaries, the attackers, the bad actors, they're also getting access to these technologies and they're exploring how it can benefit them. There's also privacy and data concerns, which are always some of the first questions that we ask whenever we talk about artificial intelligence. And I want to quickly point out on the top right of this slide here, there's a Gartner image that demonstrates or visualizes the main use cases for offensive generative AI. And one category that I want to point out here is impersonation. And that's a really concerning trend that we're seeing here, is that generative AI is allowing bad actors to create very realistic sounding attacks, whether they're phishing attacks or other types of threat categories. So I'm going to continue forward here. We're going to drill a little bit further into the weaponization of artificial intelligence, some of the concerning trends that we're seeing, as well as how artificial intelligence and AI is going to augment how we go about cybersecurity. So we start here on the left. Two of the main areas I wanted to point out, as I had called out, more convincing phishing campaigns. Something that we're seeing, actors that are international can now sound a lot more local. We're also seeing the ability for artificial intelligence to make someone seem more like the person that they're trying to impersonate by feeding it source data or feeding it positive matches of what that individual typically writes in their emails. And then we're also seeing this new deepfake social engineering schemes. And while deepfakes are something that have been around for a couple of years, they're becoming a lot more popular, and it's a very concerning trend. On the positive side over here, we're seeing artificial intelligence and specifically these generative AI solutions boost cybersecurity professionals' efficiency. It's making young professionals have the ability to learn quicker, think differently, and also accelerate resolution times or response times to incidents. And I want to point out that this is an article from VentureBeat where I found this image, and I thought it did a really good job of pointing out some of the deeper examples of how artificial intelligence will be used to weaponize, and then also in some positive ways. So we're seeing a new cyber landscape. That we no longer live in the days of phishing attacks that were, the emails are spelled wrong. We're seeing this new landscape, and it's actually relevant in not just our professional lives, but also in our personal lives. Microsoft had called out right in the middle here that cyber risks, a critical infrastructure on the rise, and that's a very concerning trend that we're seeing. The national security is concerned about it, and even the FBI has called out directly that this is something that we need to be thinking about, as well as Biden's administration in preparing and protecting our critical infrastructure, whether those are power and utilities, public services, food stamps, etc., all of which are major concerns. I also want to point out that we're seeing, and this is an insight from Microsoft Federal, that we're seeing this concept of influence operations, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But influence operations are being targeted at social campaigns, or being targeted at elections. And once again, we live in a new world, and we need to be thinking about these trends as we go forward, because they're here to stay. And Microsoft's response is to empower the defenders with our own generative AI solution, to attempt to tip the scale in the favor of the security professionals and in the direction of of the defenders. And so you can see here, Copilot for Security, which is Microsoft's recently announced generally available security solution that leverages generative AI. And you can see some examples of the questions and the queries that a SOC professional, a security professional, could ask. And so we're really excited about what this technology, and I think it's pretty clear that Microsoft is going all in on generative AI being a core part of how we're going to continue to innovate within the cybersecurity space. I also want to call out that this new generative AI era is bringing out a new skill. It's called prompt engineering. I'm sure you all have heard about it. This is the way that you interact with artificial intelligence solutions, whether it's Copilot, whether it's Bard, whether it's any of the other, ChatGPT, any of the solutions. This is really going to become the difference between a great experience and a not so great experience with these technologies. And I call out here that the difference a few words can make is really going to be the difference between getting the most out of the tool and not getting the experience that you like. So I just wanted to point out here, the point of this slide is not to show you a right and wrong way of prompting, but it just shows you that by changing two words from saying, can you give me suggestions for, versus can you create a KQL query to find my top 10 devices with the most file events per hour, you get two very different answers. And I put a little Xbox logo here. The goal of this was to show that there's a new skill among us, and that doesn't matter whether you're a security professional, whether you're a student, whether you're a teacher. Your ability to interact with these AI solutions is going to depend on your ability to prompt the engines the right way. And so it's a muscle that we're all going to have to build here, and we're in the early days, so I suggest you all start building that muscle. Once again, I want to dive into this new modern environment that we live in, and influence operations are a key part of that. So influence operations, the way that we're seeing it today, is the direct manipulation of social media platforms, whether that's X or Twitter, whether that's TikTok, whether that's Facebook. We're seeing that on all social media platforms, nation states and bad actors are leveraging those technologies to send a message out for their own interests and to misinform people, to make them believe that something's happening or to have a different perspective on what's going on. So just to call out, in a couple geographic regions, we've been seeing some trends. In Russia and Iran, the focus of their influence operations have been on elections, influencing elections, and swaying public opinion. And then in China, we're seeing that the bad actors and the threat groups there are looking to portray the US and the West in a negative light. And to be clear, nation states all over the world are doing influence operations. These are a couple that the Microsoft Threat Intelligence team have tracked and put together some pretty strong trends on. I also want to call out what I consider a very positive quote here from Jen Easterly, who's the CISA director. Cybersecurity is not a problem to be solved. It's a risk to be reduced by working together with federal government, state and local government, and with our private industry colleagues to ensure that we are collectively driving down the risk to the nation. And that really resonated with me, because it's on all of us to collaborate and to act together. The bad actors are going full steam ahead. And if we want to be able to stay up to speed with them and combat them and win this battle, we need to collaborate, public sector, private sector, between private organizations, technology companies, and all work together. and I find that very exciting. This slide here is a direct screenshot from a Microsoft threat intelligence blog titled Iran Surges Cyber-Enabled Influence Operations in Support of Hamas. And these 3 screenshots are directly from the report. I want to call out a couple trends that we're seeing here. First off, the red highlight up at the top left, cyber-enabled influence operations. The definition in this Microsoft blog is operations which combine offensive computer network operations with messaging and amplification in a coordinated and manipulative fashion to shift perceptions, behaviors, or decisions by target audiences to further a group or nation's interests or objectives. I know we had just talked about that. I really think this is a concerning trend, and it's on all of us to attack this and to combat this together. And I'm really proud to work for a company that tracks these really critical themes and these specific instances where influence operations are being used. You can see here on this chart here in the middle of the slide that since October 7th and the horrible tragedy that happened on that day, the amount of Iranian propaganda consumed has gone up 50%, immediately spiking following October 7th. I wanted to point this out as an example. However, there are many, many examples of influence operations. Whenever we talk about generative AI and I speak with my customers, the first question that consistently comes up is, how are we going to govern this technology? How are we going to ensure that the drawbacks of generative AI aren't going to outweigh the positives? And Microsoft has taken a very direct approach to this. We recently announced in preview a solution called AI Hub within our Microsoft Purview compliance suite. And what AI Hub is meant to do is directly give you visibility and allow you to put governance on how generative AI is being used within your organization. So on this graph or on this dashboard here, you can see how many users are leveraging different AI tools, different generative artificial intelligence solutions. You can see the different specific artificial intelligence technologies. And I'm sorry, it comes out a little bit blurry here than I was expected. But you can see how many users are using Bard, how many users are using ChatGPT, how many are using Copilot for security. What types of sensitive information are they putting in there? Are they putting credit card numbers? Are they putting social security numbers? Are they putting source code? And it also allows you to put governance via policy to restrict how your users are behaving with this generative AI technology. Do you not want them to put sensitive data in? Do you not want them to access a certain solution like ChatGPT or Bard or all of the above? So this is a really exciting area in innovation that Microsoft is investing in to tackle this problem of the rapidly shifting cybersecurity ecosystem. And so we're really excited about that. Last but not least, I wanted to wrap up my presentation with a call to action. I know I highlighted a lot of exciting things and a lot of frightening things. And I think it's on all of us to approach this generative AI security era diligently and with a collaborative mindset. I think we all could see there is no option of whether we're going to integrate artificial intelligence into our security strategies. It's about doing it the right way. It's about how you're going to go about that. I want to point out a podcast from a good friend of mine, Sharad DeGrippo, the Microsoft Threat Intelligence podcast, where I got a lot of this information. You can learn more. You can check out the podcast on Spotify, or you can check out their blog. So I just want to thank you all for the time today. It was really a pleasure. I appreciate all of you giving me a few minutes of your time. Here's some of the documentation. Here's some of the sources that I used to put this presentation together. And I hope you all have a great rest of your conference. Thank you very much.